Okay, I'll switch on my, yeah, awesome.
So,
Yes.
should I?
Hello?
Good to go.
You okay?
Yep.
Grab your seat.
No, Kadam, do you want to do that seat or the one next to it? Because both are in frame.
True that.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm so excited, bro. Some new ideas, right? Like every time you watch it, it's like you want to do new things. Yeah, that's nothing.
I'm gonna cut there for now, and then
How you feeling?
I feel okay.
Yeah. How was your holiday?
Huh?
How was your holiday?
Well, you know.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
I get into that in my films.
Oh yeah.
There's all, even in that, you know, seeing that film, there's watching Chimera, there's like all these people that are no longer here
Yeah.
because that's what happens.
How does that feel?
Time passes. It's like it's a handshake again with them or a hug. You know, it's nice to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're in a moment. You know.
Yeah. Like when I look at like movies in that way, then I don't know, it's kind of depressing as well.
Well, it's only depressing if you don't understand that everything decays,
Yeah.
everything goes.
Yeah.
And then once you can be settled with that,
Yeah.
then you just make the most of the moment.
Yeah. I feel like I'm still struggling with that.
Oh, it's the biggest struggle, but it's worth
Right.
it. It's worth the
Like-
struggle. Yeah, it doesn't make it easier every time. It's
Yeah.
but it's like you said about the film. There's a lot of energy, but there's a kind of
Yeah.
calmness that ripples through
Yeah.
the piece, because you're on this stream, which is I remember thinking about it. It was a time when the wall was coming down, the
Yeah.
Berlin Wall was coming down, and the internet was going up, and
Yeah.
there was a philosopher, Virilio, who talked about a constant stream of images that we, it's sort of postmodernism. It's what we're living in,
Yeah.
this stream of images that are just moving forward and just sucking us forward. And the film is like that for the first two parts, and then the third part, I said, well, yeah, but we're still human and we have to go home. So that's why I kind of put in the pancake making, and the people coming out of the house. Yeah, the which one?
The flowers. Like you start the third part with flowers.
Yeah. It's my friend Paul's in England, who was kind of a nice time of, one was a poet, and we were hanging together, but so it's like, even though the first two parts are kind of like inexorably moving forward.
Yeah.
It's like fast forwarding through life.
Fast forward. But the third part, it keeps coming back, right? You see something, you keep coming back, and it's also
to the fond memories, right?
inside while people are cooking, or
Also, like the similar. I also feel like there's like more of a connection between a lot of different things happening in the third part, and it's happening with like motifs of like that are like more physical, like it's like going round in circles around the on the floor, and like the lights, and then like the people, and like so like there's this all this flow that is connecting all these different things into like one contained energy, more than like I don't know, like
well, I mean, you caught what it actually is. As I said, the wall was coming down and the internet was going up, and there was hope.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're in the same place now.
Yeah.
But the fact that we were, was trying to kind of show the similarities between cultures.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to start, is dealing with how we're alike as humans.
Yeah.
I feel like
Even though there's... Sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel like it was a step forward, like in that way, like during that time?
It was positive,
supposed to be?
and maybe that still can be, it's kind of like, it was this march forward into this interconnectedness, but then the past of old wars and, human hatred and all that still starts to come up from underneath, and that has to be, I guess, conquered.
Yeah. I feel like that gives a very emotional tone to the film that like I did not like perceive like when I first saw it, because every time I see it, like there's this one thing that's like lingering thought on my mind, that I just keep thinking about, and I keep coming back to it every time, and I've seen it many times with like many different people. Because I'm like, oh, watch this film, but then like and the thought is like every time I see it, I keep thinking of like that line from Metaphors of Vision by Stan Brakhage, that like how many shades of green does a baby see in a leaf of grass when they don't know of the color green.
Yeah, the name, yeah.
And I feel like not knowing the name, then like you're just not limiting anything to a concept anymore, and it's like just exploding, and I feel like this is what like that the the essay is talking about. This is like where it's like taking like meant to take, because I've been like, ever since I read that essay, I feel like in a way it kind of changed my life, because like I'm searching for it,
Yeah.
you know, like
The
for a
philosophy
new
of
way
how
of
you're
seeing. Yeah, like
the
it's because
philosophy of how you see, yeah.
yeah, and I'm trying to like find my own like way into that, like of like how I'm perceiving things. But like when I see this movie, it's like uh, yeah, it just feels like sensation after sensation is exploding on the mind, and it's unable to change that sensation to perception and like calm it down. So it's like uh, it's like a hailstorm
Mm.
on the senses. So this film for me is like more sensational than it is like more like perceptive, and it is also very kinetic and
Mm.
uh, yeah, and like what was your story like going into it, like?
Well, I I'd made a number of autobiographical films, and then I wanted to play. I wanted to see what would come next. This was early 90s, early 1990s. And so I was in the mountains, and I was reading stuff on Vertov, and I had this Super 8 camera. I put the 16 millimeter camera away, and I had this Super 8 camera. And from photography, I knew that you could, if you zoom on something and take an exposure at the time of the zoom, while you're zooming, you get this splayed image.
Yeah.
So I was interested in kind of creating a space that was kind of more like a cubist spaced, maybe more the way that we see the world now,
Yeah.
with media, and maybe the potential what the brain can do,
Yeah.
which is to see things from all angles at the same time.
Yeah.
And so so the splayed image is like the glue that holds all the images together, but then you are very perceptive to say, and you know, that it interconnects
Yeah.
the other places and spaces. So yeah, so I started just shooting like that for about, I'd say, this was finished in 1995, and I started shooting like that in 1989. So I was just, that's all I was doing, shooting Super 8 like that. Super 8 was cheap back then, and I was just shooting it like that, and wherever I would go, I had the chance to travel because of the other films that I had made, and so I, you know, went to different places and just kept collecting, and that's why it sort of took so long to make, because once I had all that footage, I had to kind of make sense of it.
Yeah.
And I used the myth of the Chimera or Chimera, which is the head of the lion, the body of the goat, and the tail of the serpent. So the three sections connect to those symbols.
Yeah.
But like in all my films, things happen that sort of astound me
Yeah.
while I'm making a film, and sort of turn things into different directions. In this film, while I was shooting like this, there's 3 incidents of death. And it was like, I was on a bridge in the UK in London, and I was walking towards a man, and he jumped off the bridge. And I was freaked out, so I ran to the shore, and the police, you know, let the police know, and then they got a boat, a tourist boat was passing by and collected him. But then the other one was, there's stuff shot in Egypt in this film,
Yeah.
the end there. Yeah. So some of the optical printing was done with a guy from Montreal, and I sent him the footage, and I was just phoning to find out, and his wife answered, and then suddenly the phone was down, and then that was the second incident of death. I found out a couple weeks later that he had passed away just around that time. So I was like, these things were happening around me. I sort of don't see it as cause and effect. I see it as, get ready, something's going to happen. And sure enough, my partner passed away, and Marion, and she's at the end of the film. So this was all made. This was made before she died, but she's at the end, and she puts her hand on the camera at the end of the film.
Yeah.
So, so death kind of was following me through this, and sort of the only way you can think anything good of it is that it made me think about death.
And where did that lead you?
Where did it lead me? I mean, the film was already done, so it led me into a bigger film about her. So then I made What These Ashes Wanted.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, these kinds of things happen all the time. I think artists are connected to something.
Yeah.
And it's almost clairvoyance. You know when something's going to happen. It's like I play hockey, and when I know sometimes the moment there's going to be a goal, you know, because you're kind of in a heightened state of, and it is the side of your brain that's more connected to feeling, you know,
Yeah.
than logic, which is, I think, what you were talking about. So this film, which runs very fast, goes very fast forward without stopping. You don't have time to think about it.
Yeah, to contemplate.
You have to just jump on.
It's just a sensational experience.
Yeah,
With something
yeah.
else.
So, and that is getting into the space of being in the present moment.
Yeah.
That you're just taking in what. That's why I like driving.
How much of your film do you find in shooting, and how much of it do you find in editing, and how much of it do you find in preconceived notions?
And what's the third one?
Like preconceived notions?
Preconceived notions. Well, let's start with that. The preconceived notions are sometimes the way that I'm going to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, the way that I'm going to collect.
Oh yeah, like can you talk more about that?
Like, like I know I want to make this film. I kind of know I want to connect all these different places. I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
The wall's coming down, the internet's going up. I'm feeling this connection. And so it becomes the film that I'm working on. But I don't know where I'm going at all.
Yeah.
It's like the driver at the beginning of the film. It's just like driving crazily.
So you have like an approach and like you're like
An approach and a form, like in the sense of the single frame zoom that I'm
Yeah.
exploring,
Yeah.
and maybe Kodachrome.
Yeah.
I'll shoot it all in Kodachrome.
Yeah.
So those are preconceived often.
Yeah.
Like this is a good example of that for this film. The shooting it's connected to first thought, best thought. You're just collecting stuff when you feel it. And then, shoot first. I'm sure Steve said this often. Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, that's his go-to line.
Yeah. I think I know that, yeah. So that's a shooting. Then the editing is torturous often.
Yeah.
It's like this film it's optically printed, this film. So that's a lot of work. You're frame by frame copying from Super 8 to 16 millimeter negative. It was a time when we were still finishing on film. Like,
It was cheaper to shoot on 8 and then print it to 16 then, right?
it was more about the optical printing, what you could do with the optical printer.
How you would manipulate it.
Yeah, and it's different than digital, like After Effects, because you are in this room and you're looking through the Bolex and you're going one frame at a time. So you see every frame.
Yeah.
That's the way I do it. And then, because you're spending so much time with it, new ideas come up. You start to see a frame and then you get a new idea. Whereas with After Effects, you say, oh, I want this half speed, Okay, I'm going out for a smoke, let it render.
There's like a lack of
da, da, da.
intimacy
Yeah, like-
with your footage.
Yeah,
and the way-
yeah.
Steve was also talking about this, like he was talking about like he likes the idea of editing on analog because because for him
there's an
like
immediate-
what
there's
he
an
was saying,
immediacy
it
to
does not
it,
make
right?
sense. It does not make a difference whether he's editing on analog or whether he's editing on a computer. He's still going to take the same amount of time because the amount of time is for his thoughts.
Yeah.
Only analogs naturally allow for that.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And that's why I was asking him, like, let's both co-edit his film on
On
analog.
I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder now. I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate why people need to go to digital. This film and what These Ashes wanted was my transition to digital, and in that, what I did was I transferred all the Super 8 to video first,
Yeah.
and then I tried the timing on video.
Yeah.
Because, when you copy it, when you shoot like this single frame zoom, it goes by very fast when
Right.
you look at that roll of film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do it in 24.
So you have to
right?
slow it down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you, how much do you want to slow it down? 50%? That's 2 to 1.
Mm.
Every frame is doubled, 50%.
Right.
So, and then so on. So this film, I would go onto the computer and find out, okay, I want this sequence to be more like 10 to 1. So it's like,
Yeah.
8% or something.
Would you use video and like that process to inform how you would go about doing it analog, or the vice versa?
Yeah, that's what I did. I would then know how to print it,
Right.
because I would say, okay, 50%, I
Means
like the
this
way
many
that looks
frames.
on video.
Yeah.
Now I have to use optic printer and do 2 to 1.
Right.
And so on, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1. So I used it as a tool while everyone else was kind of using, the obvious thing was people were using digital just to edit. But I
Right.
was just using it, then go back to film with it. But, yeah, it was, but that process took a long time. I was in Helsinki teaching for 6 months, and they had an optical printer, and so I was working with that. And then, yeah, it would be very expensive to do that film right now.
Yeah.
Like at this time, because of the costs of, and it would be hard because the labs are just not as good as they used to be.
Mm.
Because they were serving an industry, and so they had to be, the chemistry had to be always up.
Right.
Everything, especially you want to use color. This is a color film. So so I'm with analog. I still use analog, but I use it for differently than I'm using it. Use it when I made this film in 1995. I use it more for working with botanical processing methods and to find new textures through different flowers and different tints, and also thinking about the chemistry, trying not to use as much chemicals.
Is that specifically through your use of like making of phytograms, or is it like plant processing, like footage that you've shot?
Yeah, plant processing and phytograms, either one. But the plant processing is I did that first with Vulture in
Right.
around 2016 to I finished it in 2019. So I used different flowers to process the film.
It's funny you bring up Vulture, because that's the second movie we want to talk about. Because like we were just looking at like Chimera and Vulture, and like also like such different style of filmmaking. At the same time, it is still there are similarities in the thought behind it, because both are a different way of seeing, a different way of feeling, a different way of perceiving, and
It's the philosophy of like how you went about it. Is like it's very clear that in both films there's a clear approach, but it's the execution that differs in both. And especially in the editing process, how the editing kind of informed your way of seeing things is something we're really interested in, kind of hearing your process.
Yeah, and I also know like how in Vulture you just shoot, and like from starting of the roll to end of the 100 feet roll, and then it just like flares out, and that's how you cut the shot to next shot, and that's how you know, okay, we have to cut it and move to next shot. And
there's like a safety kind of in that, where it's like letting like the editor and you letting the audience know like the shot you're seeing is exactly how it was shot.
And it feels like such a cinematographer's film,
Yeah, it was fun to shoot. Well, it's always fun to shoot. I never. It was easier to edit than Chimera, but in that, it was more like I had a kind of mandala structure form through the seasons twice, and it was just a matter of placing things so that they work together as it moved through different filmmaking processes. Like it starts with the black and white reversal processed in the lab.
No, it was
we
reversal.
were trying to get. I was like, this is black levels and white levels look like
processed in the lab.
Yeah.
So then it goes to the color processed in the lab, but that stock is outdated film stock, so that's why you get those.
Film in.
Oh, there's a filmmaker named Peter Metler.
Yeah.
Who's a documentary filmmaker. He gave me a whole bunch of footage, and some's from the 80s, 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and in Deep One, no, not in Deep One, in what film? In the Endings film. There's a bunch of short films I did with Isaiah Medina. There's footage on it from Bedouin ceremonies and cooking, and that ends up being in at the end of Vulture. You see it where it goes very fast.
Oh yeah.
So there's some superimpositions in there.
Yeah, are those optically done? Because like we were getting
no. That's a coincidence of it. I shot the film and that was on it.
Oh.
Because Peter Metler gave me this film that was already had some footage on it. I didn't know that.
Oh, so it had already
Wow.
been shot, and then you continued
Wow.
shooting. That's so interesting.
It looks so cool.
Not continued. I shot over top his film, and he didn't
Yeah.
know.
Wow.
He didn't know. It was probably a, kind of an end that didn't get processed,
Right.
and so yeah, I should have thanked him. I'll thank him in person. But yeah, it's also in this. I'm going to show it in Innis College, the whole ending series. It's 13 minutes. It's all the films that Isaiah and I made. And then Isaiah, I gave him all the footage from Vulture, like the whatever it was, 5 hours or something, and 3 hours. I don't know. I can't remember. And I said, make a film for the ending in the way that you edit, which is very fast and very much like Chimera,
Yeah.
It's sort of
Yeah, even the sound
everything-
goes up. It's like the film is so quiet,
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah. So he made 4 films,
Yeah.
so we picked the one that we wanted to use and we edited it together, completed it. But then I had these other 3 films, so I went through them and put them all together to make a film called Endings,
Wow.
which I'll show for the first time in Innis in February.
Wow. Where is it, like in this college?
Yeah, ad hoc.
Are tickets out? Like,
Huh?
are tickets out? Tickets?
I don't know if there's tickets for that. It's kind of it's ad hoc, so it's a very underground kind of
Okay.
screen. You can just show up.
Okay, yeah. I did email them, like, but I don't think I got put on the
Oh.
mailing list.
There's some stuff out on the Facebook right now.
Okay.
On that shows all the films that are going to be shown over the next season.
Okay. I'll
And-
join
and-
Facebook.
And it's
I don't do that
February
for social
21st.
media. Yeah.
February 21st, yeah. So I'll show that then.
Yeah.
But that ending is very different than the rest of the film.
Yeah.
It's kind of an explosion.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way we saw it too, because like when he first introduced the film to me a couple months ago, it was like a very slow meditative zoom ins, and it felt like very safe, like I was mentioning
Yeah.
before. But then that ending, like it's
Yeah.
it's very harkening back to like Chimera, like you were saying. It's like that kind of editing, and so it's just so interesting. Like why make that choice? Why
Well, what did
combine
it do
those
for
two?
you?
In seeing
Yeah, what
the
did it,
explosion.
what, can you go back to that moment? Where
Like-
did it put you?
It felt like just a stream of consciousness just
Yeah.
hitting you, almost like,
No. Yeah. No.
what?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you
No,
had I thought you had something to add.
He's
It
too
felt
excited.
it felt like a stream of consciousness just hitting you and seeing like all these images coming into your head like that. It made me feel like how I felt during Chimera, where like it's almost like a collective kind of experience. Like you were saying with your hockey games, when you're about to
Yeah.
score a goal, it's kind of like that collective kind of human experience where everybody's experiencing those thoughts, but it's being streamlined in like all these varying images, connecting all these different places and thoughts.
And I feel like it just hits you like the movie being meditative. What it does to you, it's like increases your sensitivity to things again, because like I feel like we are very desensitized, and if the movie is just like always going
Yeah.
up and down, so you just kind of get a little desensitized. But it's like, so like for your film, it feels like everyone's just like putting them in like a low bass move, and like it's like like the like the energy of the brain is just like going very smoothly, and then it starts rising. So like all the little bits just like
Yeah.
hit a lot harder, because
Yeah.
because you're so down here that when it starts going
Yeah.
up there, it's just like a climbing up, like
You've committed to
explosion.
this
It's
way
like,
of allowing the audience to explore your film, and then you kind of sucker punch them with like
it's
this heightened kind of.
it's almost like you're levitating, but it's not a very good experience at the same time. You know, like it's also a harsh experience,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like you're levitating. It's like one of my favorite feelings. Like I went to this concert by like one of my favorite artists called Nils Fromm, and like he's a new classical musician, like works with piano and synthesizers, and like the first 20 minutes of like his concert, he was just making music with the water, you know, and then he moves to an instrument and it's also meditative, and then he starts getting into the trippy shit, and it
He
just
builds
starts coming
upon
up, and the end of the concert, I literally felt like the sound, it was like visual, it was like 3D, and it was all around me. It was like physical. It wasn't just something you hear anymore. It was just like there around you, and like you were like a part of it, and
That's
and,
how I
and that's
feel
the kind
during
of feel.
Chimera. That's how I feel during Chimera.
Yeah.
It's like you build upon this, like this musician he's talking about. He builds layer upon layer upon layer, and it kind of feels like that's how you're experiencing
Yeah.
Chimera.
Yep.
Yeah, and even for Vulture, I feel like it was the same, because
Yeah.
like it started
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that
It
meditative
builds up
bass,
to
and
that,
like
right?
and then
Yeah.
it just goes up. It's a different feeling, because like even in the Neil Farm concert, like I was sitting up and I was just really enjoying the music, and I was just like going like this, and then he starts going up, you know, like 20-30 minutes into it, he starts going up, and I'm like, oh, okay, oh, and it's just like, yeah.
A little bit of a tangent there, but
Yeah, no, it's
but it's all
that's good.
it all feels like that's like how we're experiencing your film. But well, both of them really. But do you like how did you approach it in that way? Is that the way you wanted it to be perceived?
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it was intuitive to have an explosion at the end. I think we're looking at, you know, the lives of the animals, and we're looking at the place. It's a, you know, colonial land. It's, you know, that's being used for farming, and it's so filled with, it's like a landmines. When you said sucker punch, I like that. But there's so much in that. So I sort of felt it's almost too calming, because this
Yeah.
isn't calming. I mean, those animals are going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
That land was not, it's my land, but it was someone else's land that was taken away. I mean, I have a thought of it like that. So in a certain way, it's like an apocalypse at the end, that it shows. Well, you can look at it this way, but you can also look at it that way.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. And just filmically, it shows that what you can do with the same footage, right? It's just that this is all point of view and perspective.
Right.
So, but I think there's, you know, I don't think people think of it like that, like I've explained it, but it's kind of in there, and some people might, you know.
You mean like the deeper context, the
Yeah,
subtext to the
yeah,
images
yeah.
themselves?
Yeah, because, you know, when I started making the film, there was a point where I was going to make it more of a documentary.
Right.
And just think, I mean, it's like in All Fall Down, I look at the stones that are in this stone house that I live in with Janine, where we stay, and you think about who came first, and that's where All Fall Down came from, that film. It's actually my feature film that I made. And so, in this sense, you can see it in different ways. You can see it.
Right.
You can see it as just, oh, these animals have relationships.
Yeah.
You know, you can see it like that.
Is it like a land acknowledgement in a way, like acknowledging like these
Well,
the space that you're exploring?
yeah. I mean, I don't think I've gone that far with it, but because it's not. I think with our times, it could be thought of like that.
Right.
It's it's respecting the animals that are on it right now, and also showing the differences between family farm and a factory farm.
Right.
But yeah, I think I think these are some thoughts that can be going through people's minds.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because I'm putting them there in the film, but they are there.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like associational values go a long way.
Yeah.
And like one thing I really wanted to talk about were the zoom ins, you know?
Yeah, just before we just end with that, there's a painting at the beginning of the
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
film. So that sort of tells you that it's not just about animals.
Right.
It's a farmer who's built a wooden. It's like a wooden dike. It holds the water back,
Mhm.
and he can control the water, and therefore can try to control nature. It's a painter named Homer Watson, late 1800s. So it tells you something about, that this, we're looking at this not only from the perspective of, the long zoom and the meditations and all that.
But that context.
Yeah, there is a context to it.
Right.
Your film looks like that painting, though. Like,
It does. It does. Yeah. every time he would describe it to me, he always says that your style is so painterly, especially.
Yeah, his Homer Watson was a painter that painted in the area where I was born,
Yeah.
and it's in that area.
Is that Waterloo?
Yeah, in southwestern Ontario, and it was kind of an interesting, very much connected to nature, and actually some of his ideas were quite ahead of their time. Like just because he talked about his real feelings and he painted them, it fits with the environmental movement of today. Like his grandfather ran a sawmill, right? And he painted that mill. But what happened was they cut down so much wood. This is capitalism.
Yeah.
Cut down so much wood that the trees no longer were by the river, and therefore the river flooded its banks and took away the mill. Like it took away, so it's a very poetic idea.
Yeah.
That so it's an environmental lesson, right? It's a lesson to just it's an indigenous lesson is what it
Right.
is. It's you just take care of the land, and that's clear cutting that has gotten us into the mess we're in.
Right.
So Homer Watson was important for me in that film, and so I put one of his paintings in the front of Vulture as well.
Just that context alone, like hearing you talk about that further, like completely retextualizes the way that I was viewing it, like seeing these animals. Like I remember there's one specific shot where like you have like such a cute cow in the foreground, and I was like, that's the cutest cow I've ever seen. He's behaving so well.
He's looking at you.
Yeah, and then it's like now
The
I'm really thinking about it. It's like how that like I don't even know how to explain that, but like
yeah, but you reacted to it in a honest way of that. But it's not a film that's filled with that kind of
right.
messages.
It doesn't hit you in the face.
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
It's very like canvas-like, where it just allows you to project your own conclusions and feelings upon it.
Yeah.
In that way.
But I mean, the beginning and ending, it starts with a painting from the 19th century, which is beginning of modernism and
right.
the working with the land and taking over the land from different peoples, and ends with this explosion.
Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah, like, and I find it incredibly interesting that like you use zoom ins in both Vulture and Chimera, but like they're both very different in approach, in thought, and execution.
It's true, but you know they're both performative. Obviously, with the Super 8 camera in Chimera, I'm going like this.
Yeah.
I'm more. So when they're making pancakes, I'm like running all around the
Yeah.
room, just having fun making some pancakes myself. With in that way getting the different perspectives. But with Vulture, it was performative as well in that, okay, I have 100 feet. I have to decide when I'm going to pull the trigger. I have to decide how fast I'm going to zoom. I'm going to decide where I'm going to zoom.
Right.
If I'm going to zoom, I'm trying to be connected to the animals. And there's one shot where at the beginning where the horses come out and you see the
Yeah.
cows looking at them, and then all the cows go towards the horses, and everybody leaves the frame, and I don't follow.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't follow. This is this idea of this sort of extra sense, probably, that when you're really concentrated, like I said with hockey,
Yeah.
when you're really in your moment, I didn't follow them, but suddenly the horse comes and plops right in the middle of the frame, and it's a perfect composition. And then the roll ends and it all fades to clear leader. So that performance is fun. It is like playing hockey. It is like, it is, we got to have some joy, right? And, I might be concentrating for an hour. When am I going to pull the trigger?
Right.
I set up the shot and then it changes and, oh, shoot, I missed that opportunity. But you do that on a daily basis as part of your everyday life. I'm in a place and I have the camera around and it's not like having to do a big film shoot.
Yeah.
And everybody's around with the lights and worried about, money and all those
Yeah.
things. It's kind of a practice that is in sync with your life.
Right.
And I built that in my films because I found it more enjoyable. And I did work on bigger films as cinematographer. I did have those experiences. Decided, well, I don't want to do it like that. But I am enamored with filmmakers, fiction filmmakers that try to do that, like John Cassavetes.
They take that discipline with them.
Yeah, and they create a community
Right.
of people that are working together. They allow another filmmaker, Jean-Pierre Lefebvre. They work with actors on and on, in more than one film.
Right.
They allow the actors to have a say in what's in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. If I were a fiction filmmaker, that's the kind of fiction filmmaker I would want to be. One that's, adaptable,
Yeah.
to the situation, and things can change, and maybe I still will make a film like that someday.
Like bringing like a respect to that kind of level. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's we wanted to talk about one more thing. We don't know how much time you have left to be with us.
Yeah, just another
Maybe a couple
one.
more minutes.
Sure.
One thing that we really wanted to do in our research, like because like in this assignment we need to write an essay just about like
Yeah.
so you and like the two films and how they compare with how in respect to how you perceive and how it's through the medium of film. How like what is your approach in doing that, whether it's through the camera or just through how you see without the camera, because they're interconnected. Like you were just saying, you sit
Yeah.
disciplinedly with your camera, and whether or not you pull the trigger on that,
Yeah.
there's a way in how you're perceiving those moments, and whether that's informing you, whether it's subconsciously or not, on when to pull that trigger. So more like about that process for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not to like dive too deep into it, of course.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah. Well, I think the thing about something that's exciting and something that's keeps my interest and something that's I'm open to what comes, that, when I'm filming, only half of it is setting up the camera. The other half is the things that are happening in the world. And I like to think that I could be in partnership with the world when I'm making a film.
Right.
That the world has a say in what ends up on the screen. Which just means that the vessel has an opening, it has the possibility of, it's made in a way that it's possible for things to happen that are unexpected,
right.
that are maybe more than chance, like Jung would say synchronicity, when in a project you're connected to an idea and things start to happen that seems to benefit the project.
Right. It's like manifested into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are, I use this this sacred book, the I Ching, which is book of changes, which is like you just things are always changing, and you can use this book and it mirrors what's in your mind, but you need to go outside of your mind to find out what's inside your mind.
Right.
He said, we can talk for a long time about that, of course, but so I'm interested in that in my practice, that
Right.
that I'm doing something that I'm kind of, it's a game. I'm understanding something, not just about the world, but also about the way the mind works.
So you don't want control over it, but you just kind of, you go with it, like you allow it to unfold naturally within the scope of how you want it to unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry, that's just reminding you this line from Taoism.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's
about
very
the-
Taoist. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like very reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
And
Allowing the natural things that just authentically occur to occur in front of the camera. Just
Yeah.
the act of
Yeah.
capturing.
In a way, it's opposite of Hollywood, right? It's
Yeah.
opposite, where you have to, because you have money connected to it and producers and
Yeah.
So that's why I say I really respect filmmakers that try to work their Taoism
Yeah.
in a fiction film. That they
We're gonna
connect.
do it. Like
Yeah.
like my film this year, like it's a fiction
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
I don't think Steve's gonna like it. Like it started out as experimental, but like I just keep on. So what I do, Phil, like I don't try to shape it too much. I don't try to direct it too much. I just try to keep on trying to understand my relationship with the
Yeah.
text, and I just try to keep following where it is taking me. So it started
Yeah.
somewhere really trippy, and it ended up being like something that's really still.
Yeah.
just because of like what I was getting from like
Yeah.
the words were going in and like then they were coming back out, and then I was like, okay, what's the relationship?
Like Do you feel, so you don't feel, nervous about how it's gonna be?
No,
That's a big step.
Yeah.
Allowing it to unfold, right?
Yeah, like it's just exciting. It's just exciting. I do feel scared. Like not gonna lie. Like sometimes in the night, like my
Sure.
anxiety goes up, and I feel scared, and I'm like I don't want to make films anymore. But then in the morning I wake up and I'm like yes, let's do this.
Well, you're getting to know how you work, you know, like
Yeah.
maybe faster than others might, or maybe in a different way. And you would hope that maybe this method will get you
Wo-
to a place faster because you're allowing your own gifts to
Yeah.
sort of shape the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like, I remember at Film Farm, one person, like, you know, we process film in buckets, and it doesn't always turn out well. There was this one guy,
Yeah.
he was from San Francisco, and he came, every time he processed a roll, it turned out black. There was nothing on it.
Yeah.
And the crew of the Film Farm, we were all like nervous. Okay, it's his third roll. It's all been black. Like, we've got to help him. And he was just like, he was very zen about it. And he got to the sixth roll, and of course it came back black. And then he said, Phil, this was like one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. He was not he was not upset or any. I mean, he truly was not upset,
Yeah.
which was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know why he didn't get any images.
Yeah, no, like for me, it gets very exciting when things just don't go your way,
Yeah.
because then it's like problem solving, and then like that's like the fun part.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's the part like you're there to do. Like
Yeah.
otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but also like, yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
We should probably let him go now. He's probably
yeah.
very, very busy. But
Yeah.
thank you for meeting with us.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was a privilege to
Okay.
talk to you. And, yeah.
Thank you very much. Good questions. I'm glad you were able to do
Yeah.
this.
Really, really connected with it. Like very,
Yeah.
very, very much.
Yeah.
Good.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll cut the
Okay.
recording.
Yeah, no, thank you. Like,
Give you a high five.
yeah. Do you want to talk?